I've generated over 100,000 leads online, and I'm about to show you exactly how I did it. So what are we gonna cover today? The first thing is I wanna share with you the 3 pillars every online business owner must master to get consistent leads. And by the way, not just consistent leads, but quality leads, the type of leads who can actually pay you what you deserve. Also, everything you need to know about generating high quality traffic online. Marketing can feel overwhelming. I talk to online business owners and mentor online business owners almost every single day who tell me, Jason, I'm confused. I'm missing clarity when it comes to marketing myself online. There's so many different strategies, so many different things you can focus on. It's overwhelming sometimes, isn't it? This is gonna make things simpler for you. It's gonna show you really the foundations that you need to have in place so you can walk away from this training today with clarity, knowing exactly what to focus on in order to generate more leads and clients in your business. Also, why most of your content is getting ignored and what to do about it. So many business owners I mentor, they come to me, they're like, Jason, I'm creating all this content, I'm spending so much time posting stuff, but I feel like I post it and then it's just lost in a sea. I'm gonna show you how to solve that problem in this training today. Also, how to get clarity on your messaging and turn more followers into buyers so that you don't just build a big audience of people who are like, wow, you're awesome, but people who are actually gonna buy from you. And finally, we'll wrap things up with a special invitation to a brand new offer that we recently launched. And we're going to do some Q&A as well. Now, if you're new to my world, my name is Jason Moss. I'm a business coach. I've been building, growing online businesses for close to 20 years now. I had no idea how to do any of this stuff when I first started. So my first official coaching business online was 2016. You can see over there on the left, that's my girlfriend at the time behind those $5 Home Depot lights that we purchased to help me record my first official sales video for a course that I had launched. I think that course did like maybe $1,000 or $2,000 in sales. I was working 6 days a week. And my first year as a coach online, I made $4,728. And I had to figure this stuff out the hard way. And it took me years to understand what really worked when it came to lead gen. But fast forward today, after really understanding the roadmap and getting clarity on that roadmap and many of the things that I'm about to share with you today, I was able to scale my own business past $500,000 in sales a year, generate 1.4 million online, sign 2,000 plus clients, people who I love working with, amazing clients who get awesome results inside of our programs. And this is the work that I get to do today. So I've helped, at this point, over 1,000 online business owners, every niche imaginable. And I'm one of the best in the world today at helping online business owners grow. And this has not just worked for me, but so many of the incredible clients that we've worked with, clients like Megan down there on the right. When Megan first started working with me, she had generated $2,500 in her business over the previous 6 months. And through applying many of the things you're about to learn in this masterclass, Megan went from that place to generating over $250,000 in sales in a little over a year. She retired her husband. She was able to go full-time in her business. And now she's generating between 20, 30, 40K a month on average. And Megan's not the only one. So many stories here that I'll share with you in this masterclass. People who have just taken 1, 2, 3, 4 of these tools, and through our work together, their businesses have absolutely transformed and their lives have changed. Their families' lives have changed as a result. So that's why I'm so passionate about this stuff and why I'm so excited to share this material with you. What do these people know that you don't? That's the question you should be asking, because it's easy to feel like marketing is overwhelming. But actually, when we boil it down to the foundations, what it actually takes to be successful when it comes to generating consistent quality leads in your business, there's really only 3 pillars that you need to master in order to be successful. Number 1, traffic. Number 2, packaging. And number 3, messaging. These are the only 3 things you need to get really good at if you want to generate more leads more consistently in your business. And if you're having trouble doing that in your business today, I can guarantee it's because one or more of these 3 things are not dialed in. So this is what we're going to talk about today. I want to start by talking about the first pillar, which is traffic. And a great way to think about traffic is imagine you're the owner of a restaurant and you have the best food in the world. You're one of those restaurants where when somebody goes in, they sit down and they eat your food. They're like, this literally tastes like heaven in my mouth. The problem is your restaurant is on a side street. And just like this image here, you can see there's no people walking by. Nobody knows your restaurant exists. And even though you have the best food in the world, your restaurant's empty because you have no traffic. So the first problem that you need to solve if you want your restaurant to be successful is, how do I get traffic? In other words, how do I get people to walk by or walk in to my restaurant? And that is the traffic problem. So many online business owners have this issue. They know they can help people. They have a great offer, but they need more eyeballs on it. And that's what traffic is all about. So when it comes to generating traffic in your business, it's easy to feel overwhelmed because there's lots of tactics that you can use. There's lots of platforms that you can show up on. And this is the place that most online business owners get stuck. The truth is that there are really only 3 sources of traffic that you can use in your business in order to generate more visibility on what you do. And once you understand what these are, it's going to simplify the whole process of traffic generation. Because you can literally just take a look at this list, and I'll show you what they are in a minute. And you can go, okay, here's the one that I'm going to focus on. Here's what's going to be best for me. So I want to share with you what these 3 sources of traffic are. Number 1, the first source of traffic is buy. This is when you go out and you trade your money for attention. So for example, in my business right now, I spend about $10,000 a month on paid traffic. So I go to Meta, who runs Instagram and Facebook, and I say, Meta, here's $10,000. I want you to put me in front of my niche. And so Meta goes out and runs lots of ads. And basically those ads are very simple. They're just an ad that leads to a landing page that's like a free guide. By the way, over 300 people signed up for this masterclass. And if you're here, chances are probably 90% of you, the reason you signed up is because at some point you clicked an ad of mine, you downloaded a free guide, and then you ended up on my email list. And once you're on my email list, I can build a relationship with you, and I can run trainings like this to connect with you on a deeper level. But all of that started with literally just paying for traffic. This source of traffic is great when you've got the foundations in place in your business, when you know who your niche is, when you've got an offer that people are buying, when you've got a good amount of clarity on your messaging. The problem that I see is most people jump to this too early. And most people jump to this source of traffic when something else in their business isn't working. They're like, okay, my organic social media content is not getting traffic. People aren't responding. So I'm going to go pay for ads. And I cannot tell you how many online business owners I mentor and work with who come to me who are like, ads don't work. And I'm like, no, it's not that ads don't work. It's that you didn't know who you were speaking to, or you didn't have an offer that was validated, or you didn't have the right messaging in place. So it's best to use this source of traffic once you've got those foundations in place in your business. Generally, when I mentor clients, we're integrating this piece when you're around $10,000 a month or above in your business. Again, a great way to scale and grow, not the best place to get started. So that's the first source of traffic. The second source of traffic is borrow. This is basically when you go to other people who have audiences that have people in your niche inside that. So for example, I do a lot of guest podcasts in my business. I'll probably be on 50, 60 other people's podcasts this year. And so every single week, me and my team reach out to people who have podcasts, and we pitch those podcasts and we get on those podcasts. And I use that as a bridge to bring people back into my audience. Other examples of this might be summits. Let's say you've got like 10 people that you bring together in your niche, and everybody shares their audience. So they're sending out like an invitation to the summit, and then you run this big summit. And if you're the summit owner, you get the list of people at the end of the summit. Or going and speaking at conferences. Borrow is a great leveraged way to grow your audience and get in front of more people. It's most useful, I think, when you already have an established platform, because like for us, when we go to podcast hosts, my pitch pretty much exactly the same every time. Hey, we've got this audience of 30,000 online business owners. I'd love to share your podcast with them. How do you feel about me coming on, doing a guest episode, and then I'll send it out to my list afterwards? And that gets like a 47% response rate, because all these podcast owners want the same thing as me. They want to grow their audience. So I'm actually helping them solve that problem when I reach out. So if you don't have any audience, it's not that you can't use this strategy, it's just a little bit harder. And that brings us to the third source of traffic, which is Create. This is where most people get started. Create is basically when you trade your time for attention. For example, like I publish a YouTube video every single week on our YouTube channel. Or you might go out on Facebook and start DMing people. When I first started as a business coach, I would add 50 coaches a day on Facebook, and 25 of them on average would accept. And then I would send a DM to every single one of them. And I just open up conversations and talk with people and ask questions. And if I thought I could help them, I would get on a call with them. And that got me to like 5 to 10K a month. So create is basically anything you do when you're trading your time for attention, either through creating content or having conversations. This is where most people get started because it's the easiest place to start. There's no barrier to entry. You can do this if you don't have any audience. The downside is that anyone can do this. So there's a lot of noise and it's hard to stand out. So your message has to be really good. Your packaging has to be really good, which we'll talk about in a second. These are the only 3 sources of traffic that you can use, literally. So regardless of what platform you're on, because people tend to be very focused on the platform. They're like, okay, should I do Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook? I'm like, look, you can find your ideal clients on any platform. The most important thing is not the platform. The most important thing is choosing a source of traffic. Choose one on this list to start with. Probably going to be Create. If you're, under $5K a month, if you're beyond that point, if you have clarity on your niche, you've got an offer that people are buying, you've got credibility, then we're moving up the ladder to Borrow and Buy. And honestly, just choose a platform that you enjoy and that your people are hanging out on. I love helping people figure this out. And when you work with me one-on-one inside my various programs, we're taking a look at your business personally. I can advise you on here's the best source of traffic for you. And here's the platform that's going to be best for you. Here's I'm actually in the weeds helping you build all this out. And this can make a huge difference when it comes to your business. This is one of my clients, Nadia. She's been working with me for the past year. When Nadia first came to me, she didn't really have a source of traffic in her business. She was relying mostly on referrals and word of mouth. And that can be okay, to get some initial traction, but it creates a lot of inconsistency in your business. You never know when your next client is going to come because you're just kind of in this passive place where if someone sends you a lead, great. That was kind of where Nadia was. So she was signing clients, but it was inconsistent. And once we dialed this piece in her business, she went from inconsistent clients to 10 to 20K months in a very short period of time, less than a year. Pretty cool. This is what happens when you have this piece in place. All right. So we talked about traffic. The next piece I want to talk about is packaging. Because a lot of folks come to me, they're like, okay, I kind of understand the traffic thing. I'm showing up, I'm creating content. My problem is it feels like I post something and nobody's paying attention. Let's say you have a store, you're a store owner, and you have the most amazing store in the world. You're people come inside, there's all these rare vintage antique goods. It's just the coolest store ever. But the problem is the front of your store looks like this. Is anyone going to go inside that store? The same thing applies when it comes to content. I see so many online business owners, I look at their content, they have amazing content, their message is amazing, but they package it like this. They pay no attention to how the message is framed. We live in a world where first impressions are everything. Because when you're scrolling through social media, you can see 500 pieces of content in the course of a minute. And our brains have gotten really good at evaluating things really, really quickly. Which means you can have the best content in the world, you can have the best message, but if it doesn't have the right hook, if it's not packaged in the right way, people are just going to scroll past it. So packaging is the game that you got to get really good at playing in today's world. And the number one key to success when it comes to packaging, you got to get really good at capturing attention. To illustrate how important this is, I want to share with you 2 examples of content. You can go on my YouTube channel and find these 2 videos. These were 2 videos that we posted relatively recently. My question for you is which is more clickable? Here's what's amazing about YouTube. You get really good analytics on YouTube and pretty much any platform, Instagram, LinkedIn, you can see how people are engaging with your content. And one of the biggest hacks, if you want to get better at this stuff, is just pay closer attention to your analytics. So here's the interesting thing. The video on the left got a 2.1% click-through rate. What this means is YouTube showed this in front of 100 people, and on average, about 2% of those people clicked. The video on the right had a 4.3% click-through rate, meaning over double the number of the people clicked on the video on the right. Here's the interesting thing though. That video on the right didn't just get 2 times as many views. The video on the right got 5 times the number of views. Just by having moderately better packaging, that piece of content was rewarded with an outsized exponential number of views. And this is why packaging is so important. Because if you get moderately better at packaging your content, you don't just get a little bit more views, you get so much more views and visibility as a result. Now, why did the piece of content on the right do so much better? It makes a very bold claim. SEO is dead. That's like a statement. I want to know like why it's dead. That's a bold claim. And then the second part of the headline, do this instead, opens a loop in my mind. It creates what's called a curiosity gap. In other words, when I hear do this instead, what's the question that I'm asking myself? What's this? You're telling me to do this instead, but you're not telling me what this is. And so that creates this open loop, this curiosity gap in my mind that makes me have to click this in order to resolve and close that loop so I can get the information that I'm missing. Versus the headline on the left, 7 simple strategies to make content creation easy, does not do that. There's no curiosity gap. One of the biggest things to master if you want to get better at packaging is creating curiosity gaps. That's like in a nutshell, if I had to say like, what's everything you need to know about packaging? Curiosity gap. Like for example, when I say, I'm about to share something really vulnerable, ... Curiosity gap. I'm like, well, what is it? Tell me what it is. I want to know. So I'm going to read that post. You can do this in images. You can do this in headlines. You can do this the first line of your post. The better you get at creating curiosity gaps, the more your content will be rewarded with visibility. This is what packaging is all about. So we talked about traffic. We talked about packaging. The last thing I want to talk about is messaging. Imagine you have a key or a ring of keys, and one of those keys unlocks a door. And behind this door is everything you possibly want, the leads that you want. It's the visibility that you want. But if you don't have the right key, you're not going to unlock that door. And your message is like that key. The problem is I see so many people shoving the wrong key in the door. They're creating so much content, but the stuff that they're putting in the content isn't doing a good enough job converting people into opportunities and clients. And so they're like, well, I just need to create more content. No. You need to have the right message. So when you have that key dialed in, when you've got the right key to unlock the door, you're going to be so much more successful. So a lot of people get overwhelmed with messaging. It's probably one of the biggest questions that I get. And when I mentor people and work with people one-on-one, spending a lot of time helping people master this. I'm giving you feedback on your content to help you dial this in. We're working together to dial in your message because this is not like a quick fix thing. It takes a lot of time to really hone and refine and get clarity on your message. The most important thing to understand when it comes to messaging is what is the goal? What are we actually trying to do in your messaging? The goal of your messaging is very simple. It's to connect people to a specific set of beliefs. There are actually 8 core things that someone needs to believe in order to want to work with you. For example, take one of them, the expert belief. When you first found me online, maybe you were scrolling through social media and you saw an ad of mine. You didn't believe that I knew what I was doing. You didn't believe that I have expertise, that I could help you. But at some point, through the power of my message, maybe by saying something like, I've helped over 1,000 online business owners grow and generated $1.4 million in sales in my own businesses. You had a moment of like, this guy knows what he's doing. You connected to that belief of, oh, this guy's an expert. At some point, you didn't believe that thing. And then through the power of my messaging, I connected you to that belief. And because I connected you to that belief, you took one step closer to wanting to work with me. This is what the goal of messaging is. It's to connect people to a very specific set of beliefs. And when your messaging does a good job at this, what you do is you lead someone by the hand from stranger to client. We're not going to have time to go into all of these beliefs today. When I work with clients one-on-one, you get my entire belief-based messaging framework. I'm walking you through this whole thing in detail. This is one of the most transformational aspects of what I do when I work with clients because so many people come to me missing clarity on their marketing. They go through this framework and this literally gives you the keys to the test so that when you create a piece of content, you know what you need to write. You know what to focus on. You're not guessing. Again, we're not going to cover all of these today, but I want to talk about the first one. The first of these 8 beliefs, which is pain, because this really is probably one of the most important ones. And it's also one of the biggest ones that I see people struggle with. So a great way to think about pain is this. And I love this picture. This is like so dramatic. I don't know about you, but I grew up watching a lot of like infomercials on TV. And I remember these infomercials where it would be like the infomercial was all about like selling you like new pans, for example. There were these like amazing non-stick pans. Every infomercial that was selling pans would always start off exactly the same. It would be like a black and white image of a woman that looked like this, and excuse the gendered reference, it could be a man. And it was someone who was scrubbing pans, and they had like this look of frustration on their face, and it was black and white, and you could see just the sweat coming off their face and how hard they were working. And the voiceover said something like this: do you ever feel frustrated spending hours scrubbing your pans after a long day of hard work? And then the infomercial would switch to color, and it would be like, but now you don't have to do that anymore. You can experience the joy of pans that virtually clean themselves for only $19.99 or whatever. But the infomercial started with that pain, right? And so if I'm experiencing this pain, when I see this infomercial, I'm nodding my head. I'm going, yes, I also struggle with that. And this is the first belief that you need to connect someone to in order to want to work with you. Someone has to believe that they have a painful problem. And they also have to believe that you understand their problem. And when you can articulate someone's pain back to them, they automatically feel like you can actually help them. Just by explaining their pain point in a way that makes them feel like, yes, you get me. Now, how do you do this? There's lots of different ways to actually do this in content. But one of the best ways to do this is actually to use your own story. So this is an example of an ad that I ran for several years in various different versions, but the copy was almost exactly the same. This ad alone probably generated $500,000 in sales in my business. And you'll notice the first few sentences of the ad, my first year as a coach, I only made $4,728. I'd signed a few clients and I knew I could help people, but new clients were inconsistent because I was missing a proven plan I could use to market my business. What am I doing? I'm reflecting back the pain through my own personal story. And this is a great way to do this in social media content, because a little hack is people are going to be much more likely to engage with content that's written from first person perspective. It doesn't feel like marketing when you're sharing your own story. So what is your ideal client's number one biggest pain point? This is actually probably one of the most important questions that you can ask yourself if you want to be more successful when it comes to generating leads. The biggest reason people struggle, I think, with marketing is, number one, they don't know who their ideal client is. Or number two, they don't know what problem they're solving. Renee says, lack of belief they can master what I teach. Well, why are they wanting to master what you teach? Like, because that's not the biggest pain point. The biggest pain point is like, why are they coming to you in the first place to get what you teach? Linda says limiting beliefs. We're not talking about the thing that you see as the biggest pain point. This is a big distinction. The thing that they see as the biggest pain point. Because I can tell you most of your clients are probably not waking up in the morning saying, you know what, my biggest pain point is limiting beliefs. They're probably saying, I'm just feeling depressed, or I'm unhappy at my job. We have to meet people where they are in their pain. And as coaches, as consultants, as people who have a deeper understanding of the problem than your ideal clients do, it's easy to jump 5 steps ahead and say, here's your actual pain point. But a big distinction here is we got to meet people where they are. So this is the pain point that they see, not the pain point that you see. So Lisa says, not generating enough money in their business. That's an example of a great pain point. Hannah, tired of trying every diet out there without getting the results they want. So what is the actual core pain there, Hannah? Is it that they're overweight? Is it that they have no energy? What's actually driving them to try the diets in the first place? Now, once you get clear on your messaging, this really changes the game. This is one of my clients, Zach. I've been working with Zach for the past year. He started in our accelerator program, then upgraded to one-on-one coaching with me. And when I first met Zach, clients were inconsistent. He was kind of a little bit all over the place, he'll tell you. And I love Zach, so I feel like I can say this. He's an amazing coach, but his messaging was a little bit all over the place. And he wasn't super clear who he was serving. And through working together one-on-one, we got that clarity. And he went from inconsistent clients to a 19K month in 60 days. And now he's making between 10 to 20K a month regularly. And he'll tell you his messaging is so much clearer than it ever has been. He's still working on this piece. This is not something you solve overnight. But once he dialed this piece in, he started seeing a lot more leads coming from social media. And this is the result of having clear messaging that really is like that key that unlocks the door to the clients that you actually want. So my question for you is, out of the 3 core pillars that we talked about today, traffic, packaging, and messaging, which of these 3 are your biggest opportunity in your business right now? For many people, it's traffic. It's just like, hey, I just don't have a solid source of traffic in order to grow my business. Some people, it's packaging. It's like, okay, I've got the traffic, I'm showing up. Maybe my message is pretty good, but I feel like I'm not getting as much visibility as I really want. And I need to work better on how I'm framing and presenting what it is that I share. The good news is these are things that you can work on. And once you have these pieces in place, these 3 pillars alone, just working on these and getting intentional about how to dial these in your business absolutely changes the game. I've seen so many incredible clients that I've worked with who went from a place where leads were inconsistent, where they were missing clarity on their marketing, where they didn't know what they should be doing or what to focus on in order to grow their business. They just apply some of this stuff and walk through one-on-one with me, and we work on this stuff together. And they go from that place to generating more consistent clients, having so many more leads coming in the door, scaling past 6 or multiple 6 figures. People's lives change as a result of applying this stuff. And it really starts with mastering those foundations, those 3 pillars that we talked about. So I hope you found this helpful. Now, you might be someone who's like, great, I've got what I need. And if that's you, I celebrate that. You can stick around. Or you might be someone who's like, okay, this was super helpful. I know I don't want to do this alone. I want help. I want mentorship. I want guidance. Someone like walking me through how to integrate this all into my business, giving me mentorship and coaching and feedback. So I'm not second guessing. I'm not trying to do this all alone. I think one of the biggest things that separates the entrepreneurs that I work with who are super successful from the ones who honestly are just moderately successful, or the ones who just hit snags and get stuck, end up giving up, is that they come to value their time more than their money. And they reach a point where they're like, okay, I can spend years trying to figure this out. But like any professional, successful entrepreneur, I'd rather get in the room with someone who has a formula, who has a roadmap, who has guidance, who's been through this process hundreds of times before, who can just give me the keys and help me dial these things in so much faster so I can get to where I want to be without wasting all that time and money and without going through as much of the pain. And this is probably the biggest shift that changed the game for me, because the first few years of my business, I was a proud DIYer. It took me 3 years to hire my first business coach. And I was eking out 6 figures the first 3 years of my business. It took me like 2.5 years to get there. But I was working 6 days a week. I was making so many mistakes. Looking back, I hired my first business coach, was the best investment I ever made. And I've since invested over $200,000 into hiring coaches and mentors and people to help me grow, simply because I practice what I preach. And I realized after a certain period of time, I can figure this stuff out myself, but if I can just get in the room with someone who knows what they're doing, I can unlock growth and progress so much faster. And so if you're that entrepreneur, if you're someone who's ready to experience exponential growth in your business, not just linear growth, and get in the room with someone who can help you figure all these pieces out, I would love to invite you to work with me one-on-one. Here's what this looks like. One of the things that always bothered me about most business coaching programs, and I've been through a lot of them at this point, is that most programs, you just kind of go into a program, they just give you like access to a vault, and you have like 100 hours of trainings, and you're just kind of on your own. It's like, good luck, figure out what you need. But the problem is, that doesn't really work. You're probably here because you want some guidance and help, someone who can actually give you a roadmap. And that roadmap's going to be different for you versus some of the other people who I might work with. So the first thing I'm going to do is you're going to fill out an assessment. It's 40 plus questions, goes through every aspect of your business in detail. That goes to me, and I'm going to take all that information, and based on what I know works from the hundreds of clients that I've helped, I'm going to map out a personalized business growth plan directly for you. This is custom, by the way. So this is not like cookie cutter, one size fits all. Here's the exact steps in your business that you need to take in order to grow, in order to make more money, in order to get more leads, more quality leads, more consistent leads. And this walks through every single next step that you need to take in your business on a high level in order to grow. So you're not guessing, you're not missing clarity. You literally have a roadmap that you can follow. And then from there, we work on implementing that roadmap and applying that roadmap into your business. So you work with me for 6 months. And we meet through a combination of one-on-one coaching calls where you're actually meeting with me personally. This is not like someone on my team. It's not like a big group coaching program where you got to be in a room with like 40 other people and wait 45 minutes to get your questions answered. This is you and me in the trenches walking through this together. So a number of one-on-one calls, as well as you actually get on-demand, real-time text message coaching with me. What this means is it's a Thursday and you're writing copy for your landing page and you're like, I have no idea whether this is any good. Rather than sending it out to your list and learning that it flopped, you send me a text message, you pull out your phone, you send a text message and you say, hey, Jason, take a look at this. And you get a reply where I'm giving you specific feedback on what you're doing well as well as what you need to shift and change. Imagine what that would do for you to have someone in your back pocket who can literally walk with you through the journey of growing your business. This is absolutely transformational. And the reason why I decided to offer this and start offering this was because I've been working with a coach personally over the past 2 years using this exact method of coaching. And it's been the best thing that I've ever done for my business. I was like, okay, if this is working so well for me, I want to be able to offer this for my clients. Now, who is this for? I work with online business owners, so coaches, consultants, course creators, experts. This is for you if you are past the launch phase in your business. So if you have already launched your business, you've gotten some level of traction, you've signed clients already, not for people who are brand new, who haven't launched their business yet. Also, really for people who are ambitious, who have big goals. Most of the clients that I work with, they want to scale past 6 or multiple 6 figures. These are people who want to take massive action. This is not for you if you're like, I want to make a couple $1,000s a month on the side. I work with serious entrepreneurs who are like all in on their business and all in on growth. A couple things make this program different because look, there's a lot of business coaching programs out there. Number one, I am one of the few people at this level that actually offers one-on-one. It's very rare that you see this. Most people out there are selling large group programs that are more leveraged where you come in, you're part of like this big community and you end up showing up to a bunch of group calls. And I'm not saying that form of support isn't helpful. I mean, I've been running that program for the past 2.5 years that we just shut down. But honestly, if I'm being real with you, the stuff that is truly transformational for people, it's the one-on-one. It's when I can take a look at your business personally. It can help you with mindset shifts personally, rather than you just be in a big group program and you kind of get lost in the sea. So you're getting that one-on-one support when you work with me. This is also customized to you. Because of the format of this program, this is not like a cookie cutter thing. And one of the biggest things that bugged me about, business coaching in the past is like you go into a program and the business coach, because generally like this is how you run a group program. And I'm not against group programs. I want to be clear on this. I help a lot of people scale and grow with group programs. But the one of the challenges with group programs is in order to run a group program, you generally have to build like a system that you kind of slot everybody into. What I've learned is that as an established entrepreneur, your path is going to be different than pretty much everybody else's. Like the things that are going to work for you, the strategies, the tactics, the unfair advantages that you have, your strengths, like they're different depending on who you are. And so having like this cookie cutter thing, it works well for the coach because it makes it easier to scale a program, but I don't think it delivers the absolute best results for you. And so what I love about this format is we get to build this around you. We get to build a customized plan for you. So this is not like one size fits all. We're going to take a look at your strengths and what you do well and what your niche is and build out a unique roadmap that's going to be personalized for you. Also, no group calls. How great is it not to have to show up to like a hour-long Zoom call where you got to listen to like 20 people answer and ask questions that have no relevance to your business, or you show up in a Facebook group, there's like 1,000 people there. This is like, you can get answers to your questions directly. You just shoot me a text message. So you don't have to go through any of that. Most entrepreneurs I mentor who are established, they're in the game, they're growing and scaling. They don't have time to sit through like hour-long group calls. I don't know about you, but like I'm busy building my business. I don't want to show up to like an hour-long thing. I just want to get an answer to my question. So this format allows you to do that. And finally, that real-time on-demand coaching via text message. So you get the support you need when you need it. You're not waiting a week for a call. You can literally just pull out your phone and get answers to the questions that you have when those questions come up. So you can move forward so much faster. Now, if you want to apply for this one-on-one coaching program with me, go to jasonmoss.com/apply, submit that application on that page. It takes about 5-10 minutes to fill out. That will go to me directly. I'll review that. If I think I can help you, if I think you're a good fit, I'll reach out to you personally and we'll set up a time to chat. And we can take a closer look at your business, your goals, and really suss out together, like, is this going to be the right fit for both of us? If it is, we can talk through the details. There's no obligation to enroll if you submit an application. So you might as well do that if you're thinking about this. And we can explore together whether or not this is a good fit for you. Also, this is limited to 25 spots only. I have a hard limit on the one-on-one clients that I work with because it's not as leveraged as a group offer. So there's only 25 spots. If they all fill, then we're basically going to just start a waiting list, and you'll wait until the next spot's open when somebody finishes their program. So that's available to you, jasonmoss.com/apply. I'd love to have a conversation with you. If you're a serious entrepreneur, you're ready to grow, there's so much I can do to help you. And I think it'd be awesome to explore how we can actually make that happen. So jasonmoss.com/apply. And I hope to see you on the inside. So with that being said, we're going to open things up for questions. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back over here to our chat. Dr. Minnie says, thank you, Jason. You are very different from the rest. I appreciate it. Thanks, Minnie. Linda says, I'm too new for this program. Do you have any suggestions for a coach for me? Yes, actually, we just recently partnered with a coach who is a world-class expert at helping brand new business owners. So if that's you, send me an email at jason@jasonmoss.com. I'm happy to connect you. I personally vetted his program. Like, I went through the material because I wanted to find someone I could really trust, who I could refer people out to. And I feel super confident about his work. He's really good at what he does. And I've sent quite a few people his way. So just send me an email. You can reply to one of my emails, or just send an email to jason@jasonmoss.com. And I'm happy to connect you. Chris says, you said earlier that the buy strategy is good when you're at around 10K a month in sales. When do you think working with you is the right time income-wise? I work with clients who are a couple $1,000s a month up to, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month in sales. So that's kind of the range that I work with. Yeah, hopefully that helps, Chris. Renee says, do you feel that the coaching space is becoming too saturated, or is that a limiting belief? Whenever people say like, oh, it's too saturated, like my response is, first of all, I'm a business coach. If there's any industry more saturated than any other industry, it's the business coaching space. Like, there are more business coaches than any other coaches. So if I can build a successful business in the most saturated market in probably the world, you can too. And the second thing I would say on this is, I talk a lot about personal branding when it comes to lead generation and marketing. When I help clients, like, oftentimes what I'm doing with them is I'm helping them integrate and build out a personal brand around what they do, which means showing people who you are and bringing your values and personality and your essence of who you are to the table. And when you do a good job at this, what happens is, even if you're selling the same thing on the surface as 5,000 other people, you will stand out to a small percentage of those people. You will be the person that someone goes, you're the only person that I would consider working with, because not only can you help me grow my business, but you're also kind of spiritual like me, and you live in Colorado, and I also live in Colorado. And so the thing that makes you stand out is actually you. And the key in today's world is it's dialing up you and bringing you into your business. And in my opinion, I think that in and of itself makes what you do differentiated. So even if there's a lot of other people and you're in a saturated market, there's still going to be plenty of people who want to work with you. And I think I'm a perfect example of that, because again, there's no market, there's no niche more saturated than business coaching. So if I can do it, you can do it too. Agency says, what is the best way to identify what in your business isn't working well? I think there's a couple questions you might ask. Maybe one that's standing out to me is, I love this question. It comes from this book, The One Thing. What's the one problem, if I were to solve, it would make everything else in my business a million times easier? And what that trains you to do is focus on what they call the lead domino, which is like, what's the thing that if I knock down, all the other things are going to be knocked down with it? Because a lot of times as business owners, we spend a lot of time solving problems that are like 2 or 3 steps removed from the actual problem. So for example, you could spend like all day trying to like optimize your email funnel. But if you actually ask that question, you might come to realize, well, actually the most important thing is getting more quality leads in the first place. Because I could spend all this time trying to write better emails, and not saying that isn't important, or I could just like get better people in the front, and that would probably solve like the back end issues that I'm experiencing. So asking a question like that, what's the number one biggest thing that if I were to solve that in my business, it would make everything else easier or unnecessary? I think that's a really powerful question that you can ask. Leanne says, do you have more tips for how to convince clients that it's better to work with you than try to do it themselves? I noticed you doing that here. I think the best way to do it is through your own personal leadership. Like when I talk about the fact that I've invested $200,000 in hiring business coaches, that communicates a message by basically modeling like, hey, I've been able to build a successful business. Here's what I do. If you want to be successful or more successful in your business, you should probably think like this too. So I think the best way to do it is actually, and what I've seen to be most effective in messaging is to model. And you talk about your own investments. You talk about how you think about, you also have to walk the walk as a coach, as a consultant or someone who's selling services. You have to be someone who also invests in other people that, help you grow. So it starts with your own, relationship with investing. And I find oftentimes that's the real thing that we need to address, because clients will always mirror back to you like what your own beliefs are. So if you have a belief that you don't have the money, for example, to afford, coaching, well, then you're probably going to get a bunch of people on the phone who tell you, well, I don't have the money to afford you. But if you're the person who's walking the walk and maybe making investments, even when it's stretchy, then you can, from a place of leadership, show up to a conversation and say, hey, here's how I think about this, or model that in your marketing and your content, and you will naturally attract people who don't have that objection because you've overcome it either in your messaging, or when you get on a call with someone, you can overcome that objection from a place of integrity and alignment because you're literally just walking the walk yourself. And honestly, I think when I look back at like what has helped me sell more effectively, probably the number one thing is just becoming a better buyer. Like I used to be super tight-fisted with money and I would hang on to everything. And the idea of investing like even $1,000 into like hiring a coach was crazy. But when I started making more investments in myself and number one, experiencing like firsthand the impact of that and how massively it helped me grow my business. But on the flip side, becoming the kind of person who did that, there was a way that I started showing up in my marketing and messaging that changed and shifted. I think that's the best way to do it. Dave says, I'm currently going through my ICF certification process. What should I spend my energy on during this process? By the way, I'm generating sales of $3.5K a month in my sustainability coaching consulting business. Cool. Congratulations. That's awesome. So I think there's a couple things that I would focus on, at this stage. Probably the first one is when I work with clients, the first thing we do is like market research. So really getting clear on like, who are your ideal clients? What is the biggest challenge that they have? Doing some market research, going out there and having conversations with people in the sustainability space. I'm not sure who your exact clients are, but whoever those clients are, can we get some phone calls on the books with them? Not to sell, but really just to understand these people more fully. Asking questions like, tell me what's your number one biggest challenge in your business, or, what do you really want? Or what's your biggest challenge when it comes to sustainability? Asking these questions, collecting market research, that is so incredibly important because it's going to give you like the keys that you can really just plug into your messaging later on. So that would be the first piece, is really getting clear on who you're here to serve, doing that market research. And then from there, it would be starting to show up and create content and build relationships and an audience with people in your space. Those would be the things that I would be focused on right now. Christoph says, thank you, Jason, for your great work. You're welcome. I'm learning a lot. I'm sitting on the fence with choosing my niche. What is your suggestion? I want to meet my audience couples where they are, in pain and disconnection, or to focus on couples who are stagnant, no passion, but there is love, and they have a desire to grow and experience deeper sense of liberation and love. Thank you, Jason. So they're similar niches in the way that you describe them, but I would ask you, like, what's going to motivate someone to actually invest in a couples coach? And for most people, it's probably, I would say there are people out there who are just like, I want to deepen my connection and expand in love. But most people, when we look at what drives the decision-making process around like couples counseling and couples coaching, is usually the pain and the disconnection. And they get to a point where they're like, okay, if we don't resolve this problem, like we're headed for a divorce. So I would say you're probably selling more of a painkiller in your specific niche than you are like helping people who are already at a good place get to even better. And I'd probably recommend more of framing and positioning what you do around the pain and the disconnection and the loneliness and that sense of like, I feel like we're roommates and that kind of like thing, more so than the person who's like ready to get to the next level in their relationship. And you'll be more successful with that approach. Regina says, what's a powerful internal mindset shift for someone who is naturally service-oriented but has complex feelings around money that supports growth in marketing? Yeah, money's, people got a lot of feelings around money. I think there's a couple of things. First of all, money is inherently neutral. Money's not bad, it's not good. Money is what we make it. So that's the first thing to know is there's nothing wrong with money. And if you have a belief or a story that you're telling yourself around money, that it's bad, that, making money means I have to take advantage of people, or that I am like a terrible person if I make a lot of money, because maybe all the models that you have in your mind of what it means to be successful and have a lot of money are, someone who's like scamming other people, or like all these, crazy documentaries that they have on Netflix where you see all these people who are like terrible, manipulators who are greedy and rich. And so it like perpetuates this story that I think a lot of people have, that in order to have a lot of money, I have to be a bad person. So that's the first thing, is like dismantling that for a lot of people. And then realizing that money is actually neutral and I can make money mean whatever I want it to mean. And then also like, I want money and more money to be in the hands of good-hearted people who are service-oriented like you. Because to me, money is power. Like money gives me leverage in order to change things. And so the more money I have, the more impact I can make. The more money I have, the more I can help people. I had someone close to me recently who had a lot of student loans, near six-figure student loans. And I had an inheritance that I had an uncle who recently passed away. And I had it was like an $80,000 inheritance. And I didn't need the money. And it came in, and I sat with it one morning. I was out on my deck journaling, and I realized I just wanted to give this money to this person. I sat her down and I was like, I'm going to give you this gift. How cool is that? $86,000, just like boom, just handed to someone. That's fun. I like doing stuff like that. That's what happens when you have a lot of money. You get to do stuff. You get to be generous. So I think like we have it backwards. We have this idea of like, people who make a lot of money are greedy. And sure, there's people out there who are, greedy and selfish and take advantage of people and have a lot of money. But there's also so many people out there who have a ton of money who are doing so much incredible good in the world. And I want you to be one of those people. So I think it takes time to dismantle some of these beliefs. Hopefully this stuff, will help. I think it's like being around other people who are like, like have a lot of money and are good people really helps. Like rewiring your brain by finding stories and examples of people who are incredibly generous, who also have a lot of money, and rewiring some of the stories that you're telling yourself about money and realizing it's all made up. I can make money mean whatever it is I want it to mean. And why not create a more empowering belief around money? Hopefully that helps. Justin says, I found that people on my other platforms love seeing me, and I'd like to capitalize on the search benefits of YouTube while giving my audience what they love. What is the biggest piece of advice you can give to someone who wants to start their own YouTube channel as a traffic source? Okay, so lots to say on this, and we're doubling down like pretty hard on YouTube in 2025. There's a couple things. First thing, search isn't that big of a deal on YouTube today. It used to be a lot bigger deal, but the biggest deal is actually like, if you look at where people are finding videos on YouTube, it's mostly like browse and discovery. If you look at what YouTube is today, it's less of a search engine than it ever has been, and more of like an app that people scroll through, almost like Instagram Reels, where if you go to like the YouTube homepage, you're just going to get a bunch of videos that are recommended to you based on what kind of content you generally watch. So optimizing for discoverability in that format versus like search terms and more SEO is going to be a better way to go in today's world. The game on YouTube is very simple. There's two things you got to get really good at in order to do well on YouTube. And by the way, these principles apply off YouTube as well. Click-through rate and retention. In other words, you got to get really good at making videos that people want to click on. In other words, having a really good thumbnail and headline that as many people want to click on in your niche as possible. And then you got to get really good at creating videos that people want to watch as long as possible. And those are the two metrics that if you just like get really serious and get obsessed about optimizing for, you'll be super successful on YouTube. The last thing I'll say on YouTube is get people off the platform onto like an email list or something like that. If you look at a lot of my videos, I'm always pitching like lead magnets inside the videos. So it's always like, hey, I've got this free thing, and like click the link in the description down below to go download it. And I'm constantly driving people off the platform onto my email list because you don't own your audience when your audience is watching you on YouTube. So the goal is we want to get people off YouTube so that you have a direct line of communication with them. And that way, if YouTube decides to shut your account down or the algorithm changes or, YouTube disappears, like if we look at what is happening with TikTok right now in our country. Like, this is a very real risk. And if you build your castle on somebody else's sand, you're going to be screwed. So you want to make sure that you're building something that is, you can own directly that relationship that you have with your audience. I think that's super important. Hopefully that helps. There's a lot there. Steven says, I'm a bit of an old school business consultant. I prefer in person for introductory, quarterly, and annual meetings. I feel comfortable with weekly or monthly remote meetings, but this limits me to a 50-mile radius geographically unless I charge for travel. Does this sound like a good fit for your program? Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, we can do a lot of stuff in person as well as like with ads and targeting. You can literally, like with Meta ads, you can go like, I only want to target people that are in my 50-mile radius around me. So you can get super specific about who you're actually targeting with strategies like, the buy strategy. So there's plenty of ways that we can get around that. And I think that's totally fine. I would definitely apply. Agency says, is there a ratio of email subscribers to clients to know if you are on the right track with things working in your business? Really hard to answer that question. A lot of it depends on how you're building your list, where people are coming from. There's a lot of variables here. Like, for example, if you're generating leads via paid traffic, like, those leads are often going to convert way lower than if you're generating leads from like a YouTube channel. And even platforms like LinkedIn, the quality of leads that you're going to get if you do like paid traffic on LinkedIn, way higher than Meta. So it's almost impossible to answer that question because a lot of it depends on like where are these people coming from and what, quality leads you're actually getting on your list in the first place. I will say I've seen people do really well with very small lists. There's plenty of people I know who are making 7 figures plus who have like an email list of like 1,000 people or 2,000 people. So you don't need like a massive email list. And I think our list is like 10,000, 11,000, something like that. Nowhere near as big as the first email list that I built in my first coaching business, which was like 30,000 plus. I'm making like 5 times the amount of money now than I used to make with a list that's like 1/4 the size. So there's a lot of variables at play. There's a lot of variables. This was a lot of fun today. I really enjoyed getting to hang out with you guys. So thank you so much for being here. If you want to work together on a deeper level through one-to-one, explore what that looks like, you can go to jasonmoss.com/apply, submit that application. So jasonmoss.com/apply, go submit that now. Glad that we got to spend some time together today. Take care, guys.